Have you ever wondered how much of Japan's culture today still carries the mark of its warrior past? From samurai houses that look frozen in time to the way people share drinks with their bosses after work, Japan is full of traditions that didn't just survive history. They adapted and became part of everyday life. Welcome to Nomad's Echoes, where forgotten stories, ancient traditions, and hidden mysteries come to light. History books don't always tell the whole story. Some places still whisper the past, waiting for someone to listen. Today, we follow those echoes, and our journey begins in Kakunodate, a quiet town in northern Japan, once home to proud samurai families. If you want to understand Japan as it is today, you can't skip the warriors who shaped its history, the samurai. When most people picture them, they see armored men with swords, standing tall and serious, maybe in front of a castle or a cherry tree in bloom. But the truth is, the samurai were not just fighters. They were administrators, artists, and philosophers. Their influence stretched far beyond the battlefield, and their way of life left marks on Japan that you can still feel walking down a street in Tokyo or visiting a countryside village. Let's rewind. Back in the ninth and 10th centuries, Japan was ruled by the imperial court in Kyoto. On paper, the emperor's word was law, but in practice, local provinces were difficult to control. Powerful families outside the capital needed protection from bandits and rival clans, so they hired armed men to defend their lands. These warriors eventually became known as samurai, a word that originally meant those who serve. At first, they were simply retainers, fighting on behalf of wealthy aristocrats. But over generations, the samurai began to gather their own strength. They were skilled with the bow, the sword, and the horse. By the late Heian period, the emperor's power was waning, and the clans who controlled these warriors were rising. In 1185, after decades of violent struggles between the Taira and Minamoto clans, the Minamoto finally won a decisive victory at the Battle of Dan no Ura. 7 years later, in 1192, the emperor gave Minamoto no Yoritomo the title of Sei Taishogun, or Barbarian Subduing Generalissimo. It was more than a military title. It signaled a transfer of real political power away from the imperial court to the new shogunate. The samurai had moved from being hired swords to being the ruling class. From then until the mid-19th century, Japan was governed by samurai leaders. And during that long era, the warriors developed a code of conduct that still fascinates people today. Bushido, the way of the warrior. Now, Bushido is often simplified in movies. You might hear it described as a strict set of rules every samurai followed. But the truth is a little more complicated. Bushido wasn't a single written law, it was more like a philosophy built over centuries. It mixed elements from Shinto, with its reverence for ancestors and purity, Confucianism, which emphasized loyalty, duty, and proper social order, and Zen Buddhism, which stressed meditation, self control, and acceptance of death. At its heart, Bushido was about loyalty and honor. A samurai's life was dedicated to his daimyo, his lord. Betrayal was unthinkable. To live without honor was considered worse than death. That's where the famous practice of seppuku, ritual suicide, enters the picture. When a samurai failed in his duty or brought shame to his master, he might take his own life by cutting his abdomen with a short sword. To outsiders, this can seem horrifying, but in the samurai's worldview, it was the ultimate proof of integrity, accepting responsibility and meeting death with dignity. But Bushido also demanded more than just loyalty in battle. A true warrior was supposed to cultivate his mind and spirit. He was expected to write poetry, study calligraphy, and practice tea ceremony. He was supposed to live with simplicity, discipline, and constant awareness that life is fragile. That's why you'll sometimes see samurai poems written right before death, short verses about cherry blossoms falling or the moon fading behind clouds. They weren't just warriors, they were philosophers reflecting on impermanence. Take Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most legendary samurai. He fought over 60 duels, never lost a single one, and became a wandering swordsman. But his most famous work isn't just about fighting. It's a book called The Book of Five Rings. It describes how to win in battle, yes, but also how to approach life with strategy, clarity, and adaptability. Even modern Japanese business leaders and athletes read Musashi's words for guidance. In a way, he's as much a self help author as a warrior. Another element of the samurai spirit was their relationship with death. To live every day as if it could be your last sounds dark, but for the samurai, it was freeing. If you've already accepted that life is temporary, then fear can't control you. This idea, borrowed from Zen, still lingers in Japanese culture today. It shows up in the appreciation of fleeting beauty, like the cherry blossoms that bloom brilliantly for just a week before they fall. People gather under the trees, drink, sing, and remind themselves beauty is precious because it doesn't last. Of course, the reality of samurai life wasn't always noble. Many were brutal enforcers, serving the interests of warlords who taxed farmers heavily. Some broke their own codes when ambition or survival demanded it. Bushido was more ideal than law, yet ideals matter. Over time, this code was taught not only to warriors, but to ordinary people as a moral compass. Be loyal, be honest, be disciplined. Even after the Meiji Restoration in 1868, when the samurai class was officially abolished, their legacy continued. The government modernized the army, banned wearing swords in public, and dismantled the feudal system. But the values of Bushido, duty, honor, perseverance, were absorbed into modern institutions, from the military to schools to companies. And here's where the story links back to the present. When you step into modern Japan, you might not see samurai on horseback, but you'll see their echoes in daily life. In the way people bow, in the way they endure hardship without complaint, in the quiet pride of a craftsman shaping wood, or a sushi chef perfecting a single cut of fish. So, the samurai spirit isn't just a page in a history book. It's still out there, living quietly in the details of Japanese society. And to truly appreciate it, we need to look at the places where this spirit is most visible, the samurai towns that still stand today. If the samurai gave Japan its backbone, then myths and legends gave it its soul. And here's something fascinating. In Japan, the boundary between history and folklore is often blurry. What's real, what's imagined, what's somewhere in between? Those lines don't always matter. People live as if the stories are true and in a way that makes them real. Let's step into that world of whispers and shadows, where spirits haunt bathrooms, demons live under bridges, and entire villages vanish into myth. Imagine you're walking home late at night on a quiet street. The neon lights of Tokyo have faded behind you, and only the sound of your footsteps breaks the silence. Suddenly, a woman appears. She's wearing a mask. Not unusual in Japan, where masks are common. She looks at you and asks, "Do you think I'm pretty?" You nod politely. Of course, and she's pretty. She pulls down the mask, and you see her mouth is cut from ear to ear. Even now? She asks. This is the legend of Kuchisake Onna, the slit-mouthed woman. If you say she's ugly, she kills you. If you say she's pretty, she slashes you so you look like her. Some say the only way to survive is to confuse her with a strange answer like, "You're average, or distract her with candy. It sounds like an urban horror story you'd tell at a sleepover. But in the 1970s, panic spread through Japanese cities. Parents escorted kids to school. Police increased patrols. Some children claimed to see her standing near playgrounds. For weeks, the slit-mouthed woman wasn't just a story. She was a national fear. And even now, some kids in Japan still whisper her question when they want to scare each other. The ghost of the train tracks. Another ghostly figure is Teke Teke. Her story is even darker. She's said to be the spirit of a young woman who fell onto train tracks and was cut in half by a passing train. Now she crawls on her elbows, dragging her upper body along the ground. The sound of her movement, tek 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 tek, is what gave her the name. The legend says that if she catches you, she'll slice you in half to make you just like her. In some versions, she chases you so quickly you can't escape. In others, she hides in bathrooms or school corridors. Again, it's an urban myth, but one that reflects a deeper anxiety in Japan. The danger of trains, which are everywhere, and the fear of sudden, violent death. Here's another chilling figure, Mikoshi-nyudo, the pillar priest. Imagine walking down a dark street and seeing a monk with a shaved head standing unusually tall. As you look up at him, he grows taller and taller, stretching toward the night sky. If you keep staring, he snaps your neck. The only way to survive, the story says, is to look down and shout, Mikoshi-nyudo, I see you. Then run away before he catches you. It's part warning, part game, part reminder. In Japan, there are always layers beyond what you first see. The world is never just what it looks like. Now let's switch from urban alleys to something more serene, a pond in Tokyo's Inokashira Park. By day, it's beautiful. Couples rent swan-shaped boats and glide across the water. But here's the catch. Legend says if you go boating on this pond with your partner, your relationship will end. Why? According to the story, the pond is dedicated to Benzaiten, a goddess associated with love, music, and also jealousy. She doesn't like lovers showing affection in her domain. Some say she curses couples who ride together, dooming them to break up soon after. Of course, that doesn't stop people. Walk by on a sunny weekend, and you'll see plenty of couples ignoring the legend, paddling in giant swan boats. Maybe it's denial, maybe it's faith in love, or maybe it's exactly what the legend is meant to do. Make you question whether you're strong enough to tempt fate. Not all Japanese legends are centuries old. Some are surprisingly modern. One of the strangest is the story of Inunaki Village, supposedly located in Fukuoka Prefecture. According to the legend, this was a place so cut off from the rest of Japan that it developed its own rules, or maybe ignored rules altogether. The story goes that a sign at the entrance to the village once read, "The laws of Japan do not apply here." Inside, people live by their own code, rejecting the government, modern life, and outside influence. Some versions say the villagers killed outsiders who wandered in. Others say the government covered it up, erasing the village from maps. There's even a ruined tunnel, called the Inunaki Tunnel, that has become a hot spot for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. Some visitors claim to hear screams, see flickering lights, or encounter figures who vanish into the dark. Is it all urban legend? Probably. But in Japan, stories of hidden villages, remote communities, and secret worlds have a long history. They reflect the country's geography: mountains, forests, and valleys where people could disappear and live by their own rules. Japan's mythology stretches back even further than the Edo period. Shinto, the country's native belief system, is filled with kami, spirits that inhabit rivers, mountains, rocks, and even household objects. One famous creature is the kappa, a mischievous water spirit with a turtle shell and a dish of water on its head. Kappa are known for pranks, but also for danger. They supposedly drag people into rivers. Parents once used the story to warn children not to swim alone. Then there are the tengu, long-nosed, goblin-like figures who live in the mountains. They were once seen as dangerous demons, but later transformed into protectors of forests and temples. If you hike in Japan, you might spot statues of tengu with their striking red faces and long noses. These stories may sound like fairy tales, but they still influence daily life. You'll see charms at shrines to protect against spirits, festivals that celebrate mythical beings, and even modern anime characters inspired by old yokai legends. What's fascinating is how these myths are not just stories from the past. They're alive in modern culture. Horror films like The Ring and The Grudge borrow from old ghost tales. Children still whisper about Hanako-san in school bathrooms. Tourists still hesitate before riding a swan boat on Inokashira Pond. In Japan, folklore is a living, breathing force. It's not about proving whether a ghost exists or not. It's about how stories shape behavior, how they connect people, and how they add layers of meaning to everyday places. And as a traveler, you don't have to believe in the slit-mouthed woman or the cursed pond to feel their impact. Just standing in those places, knowing the stories, you see Japan differently. A train station is no longer just a station. It's a place where a ghost might crawl across the tracks. A quiet shrine is not just wood and stone. It's alive with unseen presences. So far, we've walked with samurai, wandered preserved villages, and listened to ghostly tales. But Japan's sense of tradition doesn't stop at old streets or haunted ponds. It continues into the way people live their everyday lives right now, from how they drink with friends to how they greet strangers. In our next chapter, we'll step away from legends and look at the customs that shape modern Japan. Some are heartwarming, some are surprising, and some might just catch you off guard the next time you visit. When you think of Japan, you probably picture cherry blossoms in full bloom, neon streets, sushi bars, or maybe the calm Zen gardens of Kyoto. But there's another layer to the country, a side that is darker, stranger, and full of questions that don't always have clear answers. Japan is not just about beauty and order, it's also about mystery. There are places where people whisper about curses, where ancient ruins lie under the sea, and where nature itself seems to hide secrets. If the festivals show you how Japan celebrates life, these hidden and forbidden places reveal how the country wrestles with death, memory, and the unknown. Let's begin at the base of Mount Fuji, Japan's most sacred mountain. Here spreads the Aokigahara forest, also known as Jukai, the Sea of Trees. At first, it looks like paradise. Twisted pines, moss-covered rocks, caves filled with shimmering ice even in summer. The trees grow so thick that the wind disappears. Bird songs fade. Your footsteps are muffled. Very quickly, the silence becomes heavy. Aokigahara is famous worldwide as the suicide forest. For decades, people in despair have traveled here to end their lives. Police patrols and volunteers comb the woods to guide lost visitors back to safety, but still, every year, new cases appear. Signs along the trails plead, "Your life is a precious gift from your parents. Think of your family. Do not suffer alone." Why here? Part of the answer lies in history and myth. In Japanese folklore, there was once a practice called ubasu-te. During times of famine, it was said that families left elderly relatives in remote mountains to die, believing it would save food for the young. Whether this was a real custom or just legend is debated, but Aokigahara became one of the places associated with it. Over centuries, the forest grew a reputation as a land of restless spirits, yurai, who wander among the roots, whispering and luring the living to follow. Some hikers report strange phenomena: compasses spinning wildly, phones losing signal, a sense of disorientation so strong that people tie ribbons or strings to trees to find their way back. Scientists point out that the volcanic rock in the soil is magnetic, which can interfere with compasses. But if you've ever been in that forest, you know it feels like more than just magnetism. The air is thick, the light dim, and every shadow seems alive. Visiting Aokigahara isn't about thrill-seeking, it's about respect. The forest is breathtakingly beautiful, but it's also a place of mourning. If you go, go with quiet steps. Remember that for many Japanese, it's not a tourist spot, but a symbol of the fragility of life. From the deep woods, let's dive into the ocean, literally. Off the coast of Yonaguni Island, the westernmost part of Japan, divers discovered something that still puzzles scientists today: a massive underwater stone structure known as the Yonaguni Monument. At first glance, it looks man-made. Gigantic stone steps descend into the blue depths. Flat terraces and sharp right angles cut into the rock. Some divers claim to see what look like carved faces, platforms, even what could have been roads. It almost resembles a lost city, Japan's own version of Atlantis. The monument was discovered in 1986 by a local diver who thought he had found the ruins of a sunken castle. Since then, geologists and archaeologists have debated endlessly: is it natural or artificial? Some say the stone is sandstone, naturally fractured into straight lines by earthquakes and erosion. Others argue the cuts are too precise, the angles too perfect to be random. One marine geologist, Masaki Kimura, has suggested the site could be over 10,000 years old, which would mean it predates known Japanese civilization. If true, it would completely rewrite history. But many scientists remain skeptical, pointing out that natural formations can look surprisingly artificial. For divers, though, the question doesn't matter as much. Descending into the clear Okinawan waters, you feel like you're entering another world. Giant fish circle the stone steps, sunlight filters through the blue, and for a moment you really could believe you're swimming through the ruins of an ancient civilization that time forgot. Whether carved by human hands or shaped by nature, the Yonaguni Monument is one of Japan's most mysterious places. It invites a question that has haunted humanity for centuries. How much of our past have we truly lost beneath the waves? When we talk about samurai, we usually picture their armor and swords, but there are deeper mysteries tied to them, whispers of lost treasures and secret techniques. Some stories speak of treasure hoards hidden by clans who fell from power. After the Satsuma Rebellion in 1877, when the last great samurai army was crushed, rumors spread that warriors had buried gold and weapons in remote valleys, vowing to rise again when Japan needed them. Treasure hunters still search for these lost caches. Then there are the hidden techniques, legendary moves said to make a samurai invincible. One tale speaks of the Mugen Ryu, a dream style of swordsmanship that could strike without moving. Others tell of masters who could cut through armor with a single blow or vanish into shadows. Were these real? Probably not in the way legends tell them, but they speak to a deep cultural fascination with discipline and perfection. The idea that through enough training, the human body could reach superhuman levels. Even today, you can visit dojos and see kendo practitioners bow, shout, and strike bamboo swords in lightning-fast movements. It's a living echo of those whispered stories. And for travelers, stepping inside one of these schools is like walking into the afterimage of a legend. Not all mysteries are in the forest or underwater. Some are built right into the architecture of Japan's temples. Take Myotsuji Temple in Fukui Prefecture. Beneath its serene gardens, historians discovered hidden tunnels believed to be used by samurai as secret escape routes. Or consider Engaku-ji in Kamakura, one of Japan's most important Zen temples. During the medieval period, it doubled as a defensive site, with watchtowers and hidden storage for weapons. Then there's Zenko-ji Temple in Nagano, which hides a key to paradise, a metal latch hidden in total darkness beneath the main hall. Visitors walk through a pitch-black tunnel, their hands brushing along the wall until they touch the key. The idea is that if you find it, your sins are forgiven, and you are symbolically reborn. It's part ritual, part mystery, and completely unforgettable. These places remind us that Japan's temples weren't always just for prayer. They were also fortresses, hiding places, and symbols of survival. Every beam, every staircase, every shadow might have a second purpose. Capital Tokyo is one of the busiest cities in the world. Millions cross Shibuya's scramble crossing every day. Neon signs and giant screens light up the night. But even here, secrets hide in plain sight. Walk into Hanazono Shrine in Shinjuku. It's surrounded by skyscrapers, but step inside and suddenly you're in another world, with red torii gates and the smell of incense. At night, the surrounding alleys come alive with tiny bars, each with only 4 or 5 seats, a reminder that intimacy can exist even in a megacity. In the Yanaka district, you'll find narrow lanes and old wooden houses that survived the bombings of World War II. Cats lounge on stone walls, hidden temples sit between homes. Locals will tell you stories of ghosts that roam the cemetery at night and of secret passages once used by rebels. Even the most modern parts of Tokyo carry echoes of the past. Beneath Tokyo Station, there's an underground network of tunnels and old brickwork, some of which dates back more than a century. Walking through them, you realize the city is built on layers, each one a trace of another time. Finally, let's leave the city behind. Because the real Japan, the Japan that whispers, is often in the countryside. In mountain villages, you'll find wooden houses with steep, thatched roofs designed to shed snow in winter. You'll find ancient shrines hidden in cedar forests where locals still leave offerings of rice and sake. You'll hear stories of mountain spirits, river demons, or foxes that can shapeshift into humans. One of the most fascinating traditions is the belief that even everyday objects can gain souls. According to folklore, after 100 years of existence, objects like umbrellas or lanterns become tsukumogami, household tools that come alive. Some are playful, others seek revenge for being neglected. Imagine walking through an old farmhouse and wondering if that paper lantern in the corner has a personality of its own. For travelers, the countryside is a chance to step into the rhythms of an older Japan. You can sleep in a tatami mat room, wake to the sound of a temple bell, and walk through rice fields that shimmer in the wind. It's not a theme park. It's a living landscape full of quiet mysteries. Closing, wrapping up. Video 1, approximately 300 words. So, what do these hidden and forbidden places tell us about Japan? They remind us that this is a country that doesn't erase the past. It lives with it. Like, even when the past is heavy, even when it's dark, even when it raises questions no one can fully answer. The samurai may be gone, but their code still shapes how people think about loyalty, honor, and duty. The festivals that light up the summer still carry the same messages of purification, gratitude, and connection to ancestors. The everyday customs, from pouring drinks for your boss to leaving offerings at shrines, are small rituals that remind everyone of their place in the bigger picture. And then there are the mysteries: the forest that silences even the birds, the underwater monument that could be nature or a lost civilization, the hidden villages and cursed ponds. These are the echoes that make Japan feel like more than just a destination. They make it feel like a story you step into, one that mixes history with legend, reality with imagination. So if you ever dream of traveling to Japan, don't just plan to see the obvious. Go to Kakuno Date and walk streets once filled with samurai. Stand beneath the towering floats of Gion Matsuri. Paddle a swan boat in Inokashira, if you dare. And if you find yourself in Aokigahara, remember to move with respect, listening to the silence that has swallowed so many stories. This is Japan, alive with tradition, haunted by legend, and full of mysteries that no guidebook can fully explain. And that's just the beginning. Because in our next episode, we'll explore even deeper into the world of Japanese myths, ghosts, and conspiracies that continue to shape how this country sees itself. So stay with us, subscribe to Nomad's Echoes, and let's keep uncovering the past, one hidden story at a time.